Bro, that's why when people say they can play in the NBA, I really look at y'all like y'all f***ing stupid. Because to me, it feels like players are better today. That's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. And this literally looks like the Michael Jordan from Space Jam. Why are you jumping with him?
With the incredible plays we are now.
You're reigning champs. Let's keep it going.
Believe me when I say I'ma pull up when the stage drops. Believe me when I say she don't look good. Believe me.
Yo, what it is, everybody? It's your boy Srotonn here, but you could call me Tone. All right, listen, we finna watch What Did I Just Witness by Jimmy High Roller. Now, I don't know what this clip is, but it looks, this might be the one where like the ball was stuck up there. Let's see.
A few days ago during the Pacers-Knicks matchup, I saw something that I have never seen before.
This was
and it completely blew my mind.
Insane.
Nice bounce pass. Jackson fouled.
So I want, bro.
Nice bounce pass. Jackson.
This shit is above, way above the rim. Bro, look what the happens next.
Fouled. And we've got a pitch in as the ball is stuck back. Oh, Toppin.
Oh, come on.
I don't know if we got a replay. Toppin
Bro, you gotta look. We gotta get that replay.
Running that loud.
That's ridiculous.
Forward slam. Toppin.
Bro, that's why when people say they can play in the NBA, I really look at y'all like y'all f***ing stupid. These are insane athletes, like, bro, to like the point where you can't even imagine, bro. You cannot f with them at all.
I mean, come on now.
Did y'all just see that? It happened quick, and if you were paying close attention during this broadcast, you could have easily missed it. But Obi Toppin just casually dislodged the ball at the top of
that's
the
insane.
After the game, I had to go and find this clip and rewatch it a few times to make sure I wasn't tripping.
Yeah,
and sure enough, I was not. Obi Toppin just touched the top of the backboard. Not that long ago, a feat like this was stuff of legend. We used to hear stories about crazy athletic players from the past being able to pull this off, but there was never any video evidence. Proof, so we just had to take their word for it, regardless of how unbelievable it sounded. And it always sounded unbelievable. Something that used to be claimed as a feat of superhuman athleticism. And Obi Toppin just jogged up and did it like it was nothing. And almost as crazy as the jump itself is the fact that no one even batted an eye.
Everybody was just like, hell yeah, for sure. Bro, that's why I'm not finna say here and say I don't respect the 90s, bro. Because I do. I think I respect the 90s a lot. Hey, bro, if these players was back then, I'm telling you, they probably would have changed the rule for these because they just super athletic.
It didn't really get much of a reaction. No one talked about it after. Hardly anyone even made note of it.
Yeah.
It kind of just came and went. I guess this is just normal now, which got me thinking. Are NBA players today better athletes now than ever before? It's obvious by now that the skill level around the league is at an all-time high. There's no debate there. But are NBA players more athletic than players of the past? Can they actually jump higher and run faster than players that came before them? That seems to be the general consensus right now, and it's definitely what my eyes are seeing. But according to the data, this may not be the case.
Okay. Prove me wrong then, Jim.
Today's video is sponsored by Draft Even Better. $100 bets for $100 and bonus available in cash prize code JimWager. With time, inevitably comes evolution. You see it everywhere you look. However, the one area in life where this has been up for debate is the NBA. Fans of past eras claiming the league has regressed and is somehow now in a worse state than it was decades ago. But after some lighthearted and completely rational and level-headed discussions, it seems most fans generally agree that the league is in fact better now than it was in the past.
Shooting go crazy. No, bro, honestly, bro, you can take different eras, different things from different eras that you like. Like, for example, I was watching basketball for real in like the 2010s, late 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So I got to watch like Kobe. You know what I'm saying? I seen Brandon Roy and them. So I like the aggressiveness of that era. I like that they had real power forwards who couldn't shoot. So you in that Like, you gonna go get that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They like, but I love the shooting, the excitement of the shooting ability from like the 2010s. Like, and then, bro, there's something on every era to love if you really love the game basketball.
Is better, scoring is more efficient, players are more skilled, but does this same logic apply to the actual physical abilities of players? Are today's NBA players better athletes than their predecessors? Well, according to the comment section of any past player's highlight reel, they sure are, claims that today's players are not just more skilled, but they are far superior athletes. And as biased and nearsighted as this may sound, when watching these games today, it's becoming hard to deny. While watching this year's preseason, it felt like what was once a jaw-dropping feat of athleticism.
And that's not even to like downplay anything that people like Jordan have done, because Jordan was super ahead of his time. There will be nobody like that if it wasn't for people like Jordan. So let's get that shit out of the way.
Athleticism has now become a fairly regular occurrence.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Christian Brown, a player who is not even regarded as a high flyer, taking off in traffic, head at the rim, gets stuffed by Hartenstein, and they're back off to the races like nothing even happened. Here's a play by Brandon Miller, a skill guy. Why is he catching a body like prime Blake Griffin?
That's one of my favorite new players.
Zach Edey is 7'4", 300 pounds, and the man is catching lobs like he's an athletic stretch four. This is the same guy who, coming into the draft, was described as a plotter, slow, unathletic.
Real talk.
This guy, whose strengths were noted as everything but his athleticism, who's catching the ball from the stratosphere.
I think he's going to be, bro, he's going to be a great player in upcoming years. Like after his rookie, I say after this season, bro, he's going to be somebody to watch. Maybe not, but I feel like he is. And he can shoot a little bit.
Alien leaning into a double pump.
And Wemby, we already know.
What am I watching? This block by Malik Monk? This is insane. Somewhere there's a career defensive mixtape of Michael Jordan doing the same exact block. Yeah. Nowadays, this is just another Tuesday in the NBA. None of these plays from a week's worth of preseason games will make anyone's career highlight tape. They're not really noteworthy in today's game. In fact, despite their incredible physical tools, some of these players aren't even on an NBA team at the moment. So are NBA players today athletically superior to players of the past? According to years worth of data across not just basketball, but many sports, the answer time and time again is no. Anatomical and physical evolution takes far longer than just a few decades. Most measurable metrics suggest that there's little to no improvement on athleticism of athletes today versus athletes 20 or 30 years ago. And most of what little improvement has been made can usually be attributed to better training, better nutrition, and better equipment. But when it comes to—
And that's something that people have always said, bro, like the resources that, you know, who knows Charles Barkley or, you know, a young Shaq or damn Patrick Ewing, if they had the resource that the bigs got today, you know, who knows, man?
To the NBA specifically, what exactly does the data say? And how much athletic progression has there been over the last 20 or 30 years, if any at all? Here is a graph of the average vertical leap of every NBA draftee since 2000. Unfortunately, there isn't any publicly available data on draft classes before 2000, but still, this is a quarter century worth of data. And throughout the last 25 years and nearly 1,500 players, there has been a slight increase in leaping ability of players around the league. In 25 years, the average vertical leap in the NBA has increased by about 3 inches, or about 8% higher than it was 25 years ago, which isn't much, but it is notable considering the sample size. However, 3 inches of leaping ability does not explain the elevation in gameplay and acrobatics that we see in the NBA today compared to where it was nearly 3 decades ago. In fact, an 8% increase around—
That's very interesting. I never would have thought, I ain't gonna lie. A motherfucker like me, I would have been like, hell yeah, man, they jump way higher than them old niggas. But it's crazy, bro. Like he said, 3%, that's not that big of a time. What, 30 years ago? 30 years of gap, that's not that big of long of a time.
Around the league could be attributed to simply the optimization of athletics rather than the athletes themselves. As previously mentioned, equipment, training, and nutrition. What is interesting, though, is that 25 years ago, there was a distinct separation in explosiveness from position to position. Different skill sets for different roles on the court. But in recent years, the test results across all positions—
And that's what, 2000 to 2024. Okay. I would, like he said, bro, look at the center. The center is what, 30 inches all the way up to what, 35 point something? Like, bro, come on now.
Have converged. Perimeter players on average indistinguishable from one another, and big men just slightly behind. One side effect of a positionless league is the merging of skills regardless of size. But inadvertently, this has
Okay, what else? I ain't gonna lie, this graph is the legendary Jimmy graph. Okay, so let's try to take a quick moment. All right. So we're looking at 2000s was 36, and I guess for point guards it really wasn't that much. But I guess 20 was jumping crazy with 2013. Who was PG in 2013? Who was in the league? All right, so you had people like the Heat, the Pacers, Spurs, Bulls. Okay, yeah, never mind, the Bulls. We already know who was on that bitch in the Bulls. All right, so yeah, I can see that in 2013.
Has also caused the merging of actual physical abilities regardless of size and alleged position.
Yeah.
The NBA Combine also conducts an agility drill where players are tested on their lateral quickness and mobility. How fast can you cover space while cutting and changing direction? And in this metric, players have also gotten slightly more athletic over the last 25 years. And when I say gotten space while cutting and changing direction. And in this metric, players have also gotten slightly more athletic over the last 25 years. And when I say slightly, I mean by just 3%.
That's crazy.
3 seconds better since 2000. An average that has gotten consistently better over the years, but by a negligible amount. Not nearly enough of a discrepancy to make any conclusions about better athletes in the NBA today than even 25 years ago.
Right.
The Combine's sprint drill is as simple as it sounds. Sprint 3/4 of the court as fast as you can. And in this test, NBA players have, again, not really changed at all since 2000. No measurable progress in flat-out speed across the NBA over the last 25 years, which
that's literally insane, bro. But I think people need to see shit like this before they just make blanketed statements like I did. Because to me, it feels like players are better today. That's what it feels like. That's what it seems like.
Which means across 3 different tests of athletic ability conducted by over 1,000 NBA players over the course of nearly 3 decades, the NBA is somewhere between 3 to 8% more athletic than it previously was, which is a long shot from the claims of superior athleticism.
3 to 8%?
But possibly the most definitive answer to this question comes from a company that specializes in this exact field. In 2023, Ross Anderson of The Atlantic wrote a piece exploring the idea of athleticism in the NBA, and if the data backs up what our eyes are seeing, that players today are better athletes than players of the past. And within his investigation, he got in touch with P3, a company that specializes in optimizing the performance of athletes. At P3, they use state-of-the-art technology to gather real-time data on athletes, and then conduct an analysis to find areas in which they can improve athletically. And in the process, they have amassed some of the most comprehensive data sets on these athletes and their physical capabilities, such as raw force production, power, and overall movement and speed. Now, according to P3, 2/3 of NBA players who suited up last season have worked out at their facility, which gives P3 incredibly detailed data on the majority of players around the league. And according to the data, today's average NBA athlete is 4 to 7% better than the average NBA athlete from more than 10 years ago.
And man, the fact that we have this, he keeps like stressing, bro, that niggas was not that much better. That is not that much better. That's just crazy. But to have this, I will say, to have this technology to where they can analyze everything you do and how you could be a better player, that shit is crazy, W.
Which lines up with the data that we gathered from the NBA Combine. And it gives us great evidence that NBA players today, even if it isn't much, are better athletes than the players of the past. But Marcus Elliott, founder and director of P3, says this progress is a matter of performance optimization, not necessarily an evolution of—
and I don't want anybody to get the wrong deal. When I say like, I'm not saying that they're not better. Obviously they are, but I'm just surprised that the gap is not so big, so large.
the athletes themselves, stating that when he began evaluating players about 15 years ago, many were operating at only 75 to 80% of their potential athleticism, whereas today, players are operating at closer to 90% of their potential. But the extra 5 to 10% boost in athleticism over the course of a couple decades doesn't explain what we're actually seeing on the court. And
hold on, I gotta go back, bro. Look at this shit. Literally looks like the Michael Jordan from fucking Space Jam. Why are you jumping with him? Why are you jumping with him?
Over the course of a couple decades doesn't explain what we're actually seeing on the court and how it appears like players of today are far superior athletes than players of yesterday. So if NBA players have statistically only gotten marginally more explosive and agile over the last few decades, and all of the data says there isn't much evidence to prove otherwise, how do we explain the leap in physical abilities from today's players that we are actually seeing? Well, in order to answer this question, we need to redefine how we perceive and measure athleticism. Despite the years that have passed, Michael Jordan and the way he played remains an outlier in the timeline of basketball. Where many players of the past have a game that aesthetically isn't so favorable through the lens of 2024, Michael's acrobatics are to this day a spectacle. And that is a perk exclusive to a man that was arguably the best athlete in the history of the league.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We can joke about done with the 90s, bro. But this nigga this nigga MJ is a pioneer.
But have you ever seen MJ attempt an East Bay?
An East Bay? Oh, shit.
Well, it's kind of weird. This footage is from 1989, during Michael's athletic peak. He's got hands the size of baseball mitts, 6 feet 6 inches tall. His vert is well over 40 inches, and yet he struggled to throw down a dunk that has become fairly routine in the NBA today. But Michael had all of the physical tools to easily pull off an East Bay. And I have absolutely no doubt that he could. After all, this is just one missed attempt. But this clip demonstrates that maybe it's not the athleticism that has gotten better over the years, but rather the way players use their athleticism. This is Orlando Woolridge, and he was the first player to pull off an East Bay in the NBA dunk contest back in 1984. Of course, this dunk existed before 1984, but it wasn't something players would regularly attempt, let alone pull off, even for the league's highest flyers. But over time, the dunk became more popular, almost like a measuring stick of elite jumping ability. Fast forward 15 years, and a simple East Bay would get you tens across the board in the NBA.
I think that might be the most popular East Bay that I've seen. Oh, I ain't gonna lie, that's my favorite one that I've ever seen. Even though, there's people who've done it, but I don't know, man. And also, shout out to Florida, dog.
Be a dunk contest in the late 90s and early 2000s. But today, this dunk hardly even turns heads. Players are doing this in games. High school players who aren't nearly as explosive as a prime MJ are doing this dunk. Not because they are jumping higher or are more agile than their predecessors, but because players today have been taught and trained on how to maximize, optimize, and use their physical tools to a far greater extent than players of the past.
That's what I was saying earlier too. I feel like it's definitely 100% a part of your it's the resources we have. Don't just be athletic, but how to actually use the most out of your athleticism. I feel like a lot of people could have benefited from that back in the day, but it is what it is. Shit, it's 2024.
Sorry. Oftentimes, players of the past possessed all of the explosiveness and agility to pull off what we see in the league today.
Sean Kemp.
They just didn't know how to use it. At least not like today's athletes do. And according to countless studies regarding this topic, this is the prevailing theory. Utilization and optimization of pre-existing physical abilities. The highlights and jaw-dropping feats of athleticism that we see far more often from players today aren't a result of them being more athletic, but rather having the skills and abilities to do more with.
This reminds me of and it might be not be the same thing. This reminds me of like form, difference between form and strength. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people claim, and it might be the truth, that you can lift a lot more if your form is better. That's what this kind of conversation reminds me of.
With their athleticism. The extra 5 to 10% of measurable improvement of athletic ability may explain some of this, but the evolution of specialized training and skill is the driving force here. A player in the 90s may have had all the physical tools to slice up a defense, cut through the lane, and put together a clip for their highlight reel, but without the skills to keep the ball in front of them along the way, those physical tools are essentially watered down to a slower, less explosive alternative.
I can see that.
Rising above a defender for a poster is a feat of athleticism, but so is the combo a player put together to break their defender and get to the rim in the first place. Without the skills to initiate the highlight,
That motherfucker right there, raw too. Oh my God, I didn't know who he was until this year.
there is no highlight. And as the skill level around the league has jumped dramatically over time, so have all of the displays of athletic ability. Big men of the past may have had the vertical leap to go and catch a lob 12 feet in the air, but without the body control, play style, or constant high pick and roll action that we see today, they never really get the opportunity to put this athleticism on display. For example, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a freak of nature, and we know this because every other possession he comes barreling down the lane and shows off his incredible speed, vert, and strength. His athleticism is always on full display. But if Giannis played back in 1995, how likely is it that he gets relegated to the low post, restricted to hook shots and having his back to the basket on most?
That is very, very true. You know, they say back then, you know what I'm saying, big man wasn't taking that bitch coast to coast. You know what I'm saying? Would they have let him do that back in the day?
Possessions. If he isn't granted the opportunity to learn how to handle the ball and be a scoring threat from outside and float around the perimeter, how often would he get a full head of steam to attack the basket and show off his physical tools? Similar to Giannis, David Robinson was a freak of nature, but outside of the occasional fast break or lob to the rim, there wasn't nearly as many opportunities for fans to witness the full extent of his freakish abilities. Even play style itself can play a deceptive role on how we view athleticism of certain players. In the 2008 NBA Combine,
and also that also reminds me of something I heard as well. Is it's people will see, let's say somebody like, I don't know, it was Scalabrini, somebody like Scalabrini, right? People was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was real nice. Oh, he can do all. I didn't know he had this in his bag. But I forgot who said it. But somebody was like, bro, you have to look at it like a job. Scalabrini's job may not have been to cross niggas up and then do a spin move and go and dunk the ball. But he still doesn't mean he can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So back then, you know, I feel like they maybe was like the center's job wasn't to do all that shit. You know, I feel like that's a way of looking at it.
Westbrook recorded a max vertical leap of 36.5 inches, not nearly as high as you would expect from seemingly one of the most explosive athletes in NBA history. 10 years later, Grayson Allen, a far cry from what you would consider to be an elite jumper, recorded a max vert of 40.5 inches. In fact, Grayson Allen tested better than Westbrook in every single drill in the combine. And even knowing this, there isn't a soul on earth who would say he is a better athlete than Westbrook was. Because while Westbrook was playing above the rim, Grayson Allen...
I would like to see that better. I would like to see those results today. If they read it, well, maybe not today, but
it's a better athlete than Westbrook was. Because while Westbrook was playing above the rim, Grayson Allen was taking spot-up threes. If I were to ask you who was the most explosive athlete between Stephen Curry and Blake Griffin, the answer would be painfully obvious.
Of course.
Except most fans would get it wrong. Because in the 2009 Combine, their results were virtually identical.
Oh my goodness. Standing vert 32-29, max vert 35-35. That's crazy.
Blake was actually more agile than Steph in the agility drill, and Steph somehow clocked the same max vert as Blake did.
That's
Athleticism
crazy.
and how we as fans identify it can be a very misleading thing. It all depends on how and where you use it. When a player in the NBA makes a crazy layup, this is often a result of skill opening the door for athleticism, not the other way around. Knowing how to utilize the angles, how to attack a defender, how to move your body and get the best look at a shot. These are all skills that have been developed, skills that are far beyond the average.
So a lot of things that a lot of people be considered, as myself, consider athleticism, that shit is actually fucking skill. You know? Well, I would say more skill than athleticism. Because obviously, well, if you watch basketball, you should know people, it takes skill to do this shit. But I would have never guessed that. It's more a skill thing than athleticism thing.
Average player of the past, and
Ugh.
skills that allow players to actually use their athleticism to their full potential. And when we watch this, it appears to be
Ugh.
more athletic than what we saw in the past.
Right.
Because
like I
it
said.
is. But not in any quantifiable way
Oh
that
my
can be
God.
measured through a vert test or an agility drill. Without the ball in their hands, NBA players today are almost indiscernible from players of 25 years ago. There's almost no measurable difference
Height, weight, max vert. Like you said, it's not a big difference bro.
between them. But give them the ball, some space, and a playstyle that emphasizes their abilities. And very quickly, the gap between what they are able to pull off on the court becomes clear as day. But this isn't to discount players of the past.
Right.
There were countless players who would be top-tier athletes in any generation, and the ones who had the skills to complement their athleticism prove that the NBA has always been loaded with great athletes.
Oh,
However, the number
KG?
of players who were able to reach their full athletic potential without the training, technology, equipment, and knowledge that players of today have
Right,
was
that's
far
what I'm saying,
less,
the resources,
leading to a
man.
league that appeared to be far less athletic than it is today. Are NBA players today better athletes than players of the past? Well, technically,
yeah.
But
Not
not in
by
the
a
way
lot.
that we have been
Yeah.
led to believe. NBA players haven't evolved athletically. They don't jump much higher or run much faster than the players that came before them. But with the benefit of decades of advancements in how we measure, train, and improve athletes, today's NBA players have optimized their athleticism
know how to use it
far
better.
more than
Makes
players
sense.
of the past. They understand their bodies and abilities more, and they have been meticulously trained to know exactly how to get the most out of them. The extra 5 to 10% of measurable increase in athletic performance may have something to do with the incredible plays we are now
You're reigning champs. Let's keep it going.
spoiled with. But many of these athletic feats can be attributed to a developed skill and complementary playstyle that is much more difficult to measure.
Man, I hope
Athletically,
Detroit get it
over
together,
time,
bro.
NBA players haven't changed much at all. But how they use their athleticism, that is the evolution.
Dog, this nigga Jimmy is like, this was it was insightful. It was dope as fuck. And it was educating. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like me who I've definitely seen the stuff that they do for like, oh, this is definitely 100% athleticism, not factoring in that there might be more skill than athleticism. So great video, man. Again, let's not diminish older players, bro, because who knows what it could have been if they would have had those resources back then. But again, whose fault is that? Because these players was born later. It is what it is. So let's just not diminish each other. Everybody good. It is what it is. But I appreciate everybody for coming through. Till next time, I'm out.